guys, so I have this little zipper wallet thing that I made. I was like trying to design and sew at the same time. And of course it's not, the pattern is not one that I would continue with. I like the way it looks. I mean, I do have a little zipper pocket here. However, I made so many mistakes, which are really not mistakes because I learned something in the process of doing this. But I'm going to use it. I'm not going to waste the materials. I'm not going to waste the effort and the time. So what it needs is, in my case, it needs a button. I don't currently have a snap setter doohickey. I know they're available out there, but I don't know that I want to add something else to my sewing room clutter right now, and I have a ton of buttons. I mean, a massive ton of buttons. I have a buttonhole foot, I have a Bernina, and I have something that needs a buttonhole. So I'm going to test it. I don't know if you remember, somewhere in the last couple of weeks I made a little quick coaster for my teacup and my ice teacup that tends to have issues in here. Today I'm drinking dandelion root tea, and excuse me, this equals about this. They're about the same amount of fabric and folding, and I want to test this buttonhole. I don't want to test it on this. I wanted to test it on something not this. But I didn't want to have to pull together a bunch of fabric and another bunch of time when I already have something that's just mine. I can test stitches on this all day long. So what I'm going to do is install my 3B Bernina buttonhole making foot. I also have for this machine the regular buttonhole foot, but this one it will be more consistent for me. I also would like to go ahead, piece of thread, and thread this little, let's see if I can get this to show up. Maybe if I put a piece of something behind it. There's a little hole in the bobbin arm. I think you can see it. Maybe. All right, so there we go. I'm going to try to fix it where you can see, hopefully, that it's threaded. I'm trying to, you know what I'm trying to do. I don't have to keep saying that. So there we go. Just like that. You have this little gauge right here, and as you're making your buttonhole, the interior part of this foot will move forward to this, wherever you put the gauge. You visually see, okay, I need to stop, and then you push another button on the Bernina. Here we go. Now I'm watching that little red line. Let's see if I can pull you in a... Okay, one. So this little line that's right here on the moving part of my foot is moving slowly toward the gauge here. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, they've met up. So now I push the button that will then have it do the back and forth. Okay, Now I'm going to push the one that goes back and forth, left to right, and it's going to stop all by itself, magically. Now, because I threaded that little hole in the bobbin arm, I got a beautiful buttonhole right here. Beautiful satin stitching, very close together, just absolutely perfect, which is what I wanted. So I don't feel like I need to do the buttonhole twice. Sometimes, maybe if you're making a coat or something heavy with a great big button, maybe. I don't think that's going to be necessary in my case, so I'm very happy with that. Now what I need to do is decide where on here I want the button and what direction do I want the buttonhole. Do I want a vertical buttonhole or do I want a horizontal buttonhole? Now, one of the things that I've learned over the years is that vertical buttonholes on large buttons tend to slip open. They just tend to have too much play. Oh my God, let me back you up a little bit. So a vertical buttonhole tends to have a lot, on a large button, tends to have a lot of play, and they tend to come open about 20% of the time. Horizontal large buttonholes also tend to have a lot of play. They tend to come open about 40 to 50% of the time. So I think on my little wallet case pouch thing, I think what I'm going to do is a vertical, and I'm going to use kind of a medium-sized button. I need to find a button, which should not be too difficult. Okay, so these buttons, you may remember, these are the little decorative buttons that I used on the yo-yo project. And buried underneath are just a million mother of pearl buttons that a friend gave to me. I think they belonged to her grandmother. This is a pretty good sized, nice vintage look 2-hole button. There might be some that are slightly larger in here. Yep, here's one that's even bigger, and it's kind of a decorative 2-hole button. That one's pretty, but it's plastic. Plastic. That one's a little plain. Okay, and then there's more of them. Here's a 4-hole that is also a mother of pearl. And I think, I knew I was going to start dropping buttons everywhere. I think these are the largest in the bunch. This is kind of an interesting carved shank button. It's smooth, but it almost has a rough surface feel to it. Mother of pearl buttons, it's awesome. All right, so I have 3 to choose from. I have this interesting vintage looking, it's got carved lines that could either go horizontally or vertically, like that. I really like that interest. I have just kind of a plain Jane with a lot of color and sparkle too, and it's a smaller button, by the way. And then I have a traditional looking button. It's been carved almost exactly like today's plastic, but it's a mother of pearl with 4 holes. I don't know if you're catching the glimmer and glitz. I love mother of pearl buttons. They're so pretty. On heirloom sewing, you just can't compare. Okay, so now I have to decide. I believe I'm going to have to go with the 4. It's not competing as much color-wise, so I think that's what I'll do. I love my little fabric, so that's what I'll do. Alright, so now I have this button that I need to measure. Alright, so I've got my buttonhole marked out. I'm going to double check it against my button, which there we go. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch it up. And we shall see. Right. I need to make my stitches a little bit wider, and I want to double check and make sure that, okay, we're going to be alright. And again, let it focus. It turned out really pretty. Now, the way I open a buttonhole is I take a pin, just a regular straight sewing pin, and I put it at one end all the way through my fabric, and then I come up right at the end of the buttonhole, like so. And then I take my seam ripper and I just very carefully and slowly work it into the fabric. Usually I don't have 4 layers of fabric and a layer of iron-on lightweight interfacing, but I happen to on this. So it's going to take a little bit longer. Now I'm just going to kind of push and wiggle my seam ripper. But because I have a big enough opening now, I can just take some scissors and snip to open it. Now the reason I put that pin there is because if I'm using the seam ripper and I push and it decides to go, it will stop me. This pin here will stop me from cutting through and into my fabric. Okay, it fit through. So now I'm just going to see where that naturally falls, and I'm going to draw through the buttonhole. I'm going to draw a line so I know right where to put my button. It's a 4-hole button, so I'm going to center it right over the top of that mark. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, let me pull you in where you can see. I don't want a knot showing in either place. So I'm going to pull from way over here. The button will be over here, but I'm going to start my button, my thread with the knot in it, way out away from my button. It's way down here, and this is where I'm going to be stitching. And then I'm going to knot this just by stitching over a couple of times, like so. And then I'm just going to cut this little knot off. I stitch back and forth across the top, and I knot off. And then I come back with a separate thread and do the exact same thing at the bottom. If the bottom threads break, I still have the button because they're not attached and the button isn't going to fall off and get lost. So I think that turned out really cute. I love having a zipper on the back. I'll probably use it for sewing projects. I think my scissors fit. I have my pen would fit. This would be a good spot for maybe some thread. Oh yeah, the threads will fit. Some other notions would fit. So I love it. I love it to death because it's my colors, and it is the first prototype in a little sewn wallet thing. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but the button is a little bit tight, but I think it will loosen up. Yeah, there we go. It's starting to loosen a little bit. It's not a fabulous looking little project by any means. I mean, it's clearly got some issues construction wise, but then again, it has some neat features that I really like. So I will keep developing and working on this. To be honest with you, I had planned to use, I have some Liberty of London fabric, which I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of just touching Liberty of London fabric. It is literally the most wonderful thing ever in the land of fabric, in my personal opinion. Don't tell silk and linen that I said that. Okay guys, sorry I'm laughing. I have neighbors that just bring me such joy. I'm just going to leave it at that. So as you can see, I have a package that was delivered while I was outside working in my yard. So I believe I know what this is. I believe that it is some fabric. Let me get it down where you can see. Oh my goodness. Okay. Ready? Let's see. Yep. This is what I ordered from Amazon. Based on what it feels like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh it is absolutely gorgeous. Now, I don't know, I think the phone picture was kind of giving you a false impression of the main background color. And it really is, it's like buttercream made with real butter. It is a David Textiles fabric. It's called Oak Avenue and it's licensed by Wild Apple. I'll show you that. And this is the colorway. I like that they've got pink thrown in there. I think there is a pink in the center. Let's see, where is that? I saw it earlier. There's a blue, yeah, here it is. In that teal flower, there's some pink right in there, which is really cool. I'm kind of sketching out some ideas. I'm thinking, of course, I think I mentioned earlier, I want to do kind of an oblong corner. And I'm thinking, of course, I've got to cut the, you know, the selvage edges. I've got to cut those away. And then there's always that option of a hem. What I may do, what I'm seriously thinking about doing is obviously I won't show you on that, but a small, like a roll and whip on this side, and then fold this under by just a small amount. And I think I might use the wing needle and just do a pin stitch to hem it. So I'll have what looks like a hem stitch, kind of. Or I will use my double needle for an extra special treatment. But because I will be able to cut some of this away, I can kind of practice on some of these little pieces and see what works the best on this particular fabric. I will tell you, it's a very lightweight cotton. It looks like a heavy upholstery fabric, but it is a very lightweight. It has a beautifully soft hand. My point in bringing all of that up is if you do decide to go to Amazon and purchase the $5.99 David Textiles, incorporated fabrics, then make sure when you select the one that you choose that it is appropriately cut the way you want it to be cut. Just look over there and say, oh, pre-cut 1 yard or whatever. And they have some of the most gorgeous prints. There was a blue feather and blue roses. It looked so vintage. I just was so tempted because my dinnerware is, my china is Blue Hill by Nortaki, which is all blue and a little bit of purple, which is perfect because there's a little bit of purple in there. Here it is, it's ready to go. I need to design the edges and the hems, and then I will let you know what this turns out to look like. And now I'm going to probably go edit this video because I'm not sure that I'm going to be sewing. So, but anyway, guys, thank you again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this fabric as much as I did, and all of the rest of the video that preceded this particular piece, and I will see you in the next one. Like and subscribe if you wish. Thank you.